giving glory and honor to God for allowing me to come and present to you. My name is May like the month, Holland like the country. I am a social worker, been a social worker for over 20 years. My expertise is working with the mentally ill. I've worked with mentally ill adults, and for 15, 16 years, I worked with children who had problems. I also ran a group home for boys with behavioral problems. The task I have been given today is to identify not only females, but everybody who has addiction. And so I'm going to try and demonstrate to you how you open up a group, because generally you will have 4 or 5 people that you will be addressing, and so you need to know how to start a group. So first of all, I'm going to ask brother at the table if he will start with a prayer.
Our holy God, we thank you so much for the opportunities that you've given us to come together and to discuss ways to reach our communities, reach our fellow citizens who are incarcerated or otherwise, and Father, those that have issues in life that seem to be habitual and are, and Father, we just pray that we can utilize these tools to not only help ourselves with addictions and to learn to overcome them, but to help others, Father, and be willing to open the doors of our churches to those that are suffering, those that are trying to find their way to you. We pray these, we ask these blessings in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All of you have a copy of the Serenity Prayer, and I'm going to ask that we all read it together. If you do not have a copy, please raise your hand, and Brother Jackson will get one to you.
Those that are going to be presenting this afternoon, if you could get the people at the ladies at the registration table, if you can get that information to them, they will scan it out and send it to the people that are online with us.
Okay, ready? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, requesting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next life. Amen. Okay. On the next page, we have the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. If you decide in your group that you want to use this, please feel free to do that, as well as the Serenity Prayer. Now, as a facilitator, you have some responsibilities. And I'm going to go over these responsibilities with you, and you can think about whether this applies to you or not. First of all, you have to listen to what's said. It's very important as a facilitator that you listen. And listening is a spoken message which contains 3 essential parts: words, tone of voice, and nonverbal clues of body language. Consider what that person is saying with words and with nonverbal words. And you could say, they're interesting. An example is somebody will say, I don't want to do that. Or, I really don't want to do that. I ain't doing that at all. Now, you as a facilitator have to pay attention to what that person is saying. And you have to address it. If you feel that that person is out of control, you need to learn how to bring that person down so they won't destroy the group. Okay, and then you have to establish guidelines as a facilitator or a group leader or whatever you're going to call yourself. You have to establish guidelines. You have to allow the participants not to probe, because some of them will. They'll start trying to find out details that is not even necessary for them to know. There's no crosstalk. Now, I am very, very strict about you cross-talking in my group. I will put you out. Because it's disrespectful not only to me, but it's disrespectful to everybody else. And no judging. You can't judge people. So be careful you don't judge, and be careful you don't allow the group members to judge. And no interrupting. Let everybody finish what they're saying. You have some people who will constantly interrupt. I will put you out if you continue with that kind of behavior. And I let you know in the beginning, and I may tell you 2 or 3 times, eventually, if you continue, I will ask you, you need to leave. And I will wait until you leave. So because you got to have control of your group. You've got to be able to allow everybody to have a chance to express themselves. And you have to model spiritual character. I never raise my voice, never, which means you have to listen to me. I'm not going to shout. I'm not going to confront you. I will just say, if you can't abide by the rules, you need to leave. If I have to say it 3 or 4 times, I will still say it. And maybe when you leave, I will say, you have a good day. Okay? Remember, you are representing God. And you never allow yourself to get out of control. And you always want somebody to, even though they've been disrespectful, you do want them to come back again, knowing that I can't mess with that lady because she's not going to have it. And when you have people that come to your group continually, they will eventually learn that, Sister Holland not going to let me do that, so I need to be quiet, okay? Or I need to at least participate. Okay, and you reward honesty with openness and affirmations. Affirmations are wonderful. And affirmations are always positive. Always positive. And affirmations always start with I. Never, never become accusatory. You always start with I. I had a mother and a daughter that were having some really difficult problems. And the mother wasn't talking to the daughter, and the daughter wasn't talking to the mother. When I taught them how to do affirmations, like, I feel, I don't think, I wonder, they came back together, and it was wonderful to see how, when mother started putting the blame on her daughter, and let her daughter know that this is how I feel about this situation. It worked real well for the family. They came back together again. And so you have to do that in groups as well. Use positive affirmations. I like the way you said that. I like the way you look. I like your voice. Always find something positive to say to the people that you were working with. You know, and sometimes you have to look hard to find it. But there is, and even the people with the most egregious personality, you can find something to say positive about them. And if you have some personal experience, use it. But don't disclose too much now. There's some people want, it's TMI. I don't need that much information. But you need to let people understand or know that I feel you, okay? I've been there. I've walked in your shoes. And especially if you walk in somebody's shoes, you'd be surprised how you can reach them, because you know what it's like to be in a situation that has caused you so many problems, whether it's you personally or whether there is a family member. My brother was a very, very intelligent young man, but he would lie, he would steal, he would drink, he would fight, and he stayed in jail from the time he was little till he got to be a teenager. What did that cause me? Shame. Not everybody has the same amount of shame, but that was very shameful for me, because he could steal you blind while you're looking at him. And very charismatic type of person, but still, and he committed a crime, and he was in the paper. And I lived in a small town. Everybody knows that's your brother. So I can relate to you when you talk about shame, but I don't have to tell you everything that causes shame in my family. So be careful about what you disclose, because sometimes you're talking to people sometimes that are broken, and they can use that against you. So just be careful how you disclose to your group. But you encourage appropriate trust and loyalty. Group loyalty and trust is a result of members feeling safe with one another. And they have to be safe, feel safe with each other, because they've had so many situations where people have caused them so many problems and have made them feel unsafe. And one of the things about your group is confidentiality. You really have to express that very clear. Whatever you say in the group stays here. If for any reason I find that you have taken information out of this group and shared it with somebody else, you're no longer welcome here, because we can't trust you. And a lot of things are shared in the group that are very, very hurtful. Some of them are very, very shameful. I have developed the practice of, you can tell me anything, I forget it. After you tell me, I forget it. Unless I'm doing therapy or something, then I have to write it back when we come down. But you can ask me about it maybe later on. Do you remember Sister Holland? Well, not exactly. Refresh my memory. I do not discuss anything that's said in the group once I leave that group. I don't discuss it with anybody. I'm not doing therapy, so I'm not discussing it with anybody. And you remember that you don't discuss it, and you stress to the people in the group, they don't need to discuss it. Not even among themselves. Not even among themselves. They need to listen to it, soak in. When you leave this group, you're not talking about what this person said. You're not talking about this person who tells you that their brother raped them. You're not talking about this person who tells you, my father has had sex with me for 5 or 6 years. You're not talking about this person who've been drinking since they were 5 years old. You're not talking about this person who's been smoking pot along with their mother and their brothers. You're not talking about that. You hear it, you leave it in the group. Focus on harmony in a group is a group priority. Without harmony, group members will not feel comfortable expressing their feelings. And some people don't know how to express feelings. I have a feelings chart, and I give it to people sometimes. And I say, how do you feel? Now, it's really amazing to me sometimes. They've never told anybody how they feel sad. They don't know how to express it. They don't know how to express how they feel angry. And they don't know how to express feeling happy. And so I give them pictures, and they have to try and find, where do you fit on this picture? They have to get in touch with their feelings. And a lot of people don't like to get in touch with their feelings because it hurts. And some people don't want to hurt that bad. And so they'll say, I don't feel anything. But you know that's impossible. You feel something. You just don't know how to express it. You relate to the here and now in your group. When you have a group of people who are suffering with addiction, some of them have some war stories, and they call them war stories. They have some things that have happened to them that are so egregious in the past. You don't want to talk about that. You really don't, because it affects everybody else in the group. You want to talk about the here and now, where you are now, what you're doing, talking about what's going on with you now. Are you in a good place? Are you working to get in a good place? Be careful, because you do have some very grandiose people who like to go on and on and on about their addiction and what they did and whether they've been in prison and they've been out. Well, you may still be in prison. I don't know where you're going to do your groups at. If you're doing your groups in prison, we know you're in prison. But some of them like to talk about how many times they've been out in prison, been in and out. And let's talk about what's happening with you now. And if you're doing it in a church setting, let's talk about what's happening to you now. If you're doing it in another setting, let's talk about the here and now. I know you wouldn't be here if you didn't have problems in the past. I already know that. So let's talk about where you are here and now. Be as positive as you can. Okay. And again, as you're facilitated now, you have to help people share their feelings. Because that's you have to know how that person is feeling. And some, my expertise is in mental health. So I look at a lot of stuff when I see you in my group. And for me, it is to calm you down if I see you getting out of control. And then for me, it is, if you're getting out of control, I have to try and help you to express how you're feeling. And the group has to understand this brother is having some anger problems. Maybe somebody in the group can help you with this anger problem. Feelings are very important, because most people who have addictions or have been in prison, out of prison, live in a dysfunctional family, have learned how to stuff their feelings. they push them down so far that you never know, something ticks them off, and you don't know what's going on. But the thing is, feelings are very important. Then you learn how to get rid of them. And you tell them, that feeling, I'm glad to see that you're able to share that feeling. Let's get rid of that feeling. There are ways that you can get rid of that feeling. And so you learn how to help them get rid of maybe just one. And if they can get rid of that anger feeling, whether you have to refer them out, because remember, you're not a therapist, you're not a mental health person, but you can recognize that they're having some problem. Refer them out to somebody who's a professional that can help them. Then you have to confront in a loving way. My loving way is, you can't do that in here, love. If you're going to do that, and they curse, you have people in groups, their way of life has been cursing all the time. And they will slip up and say things like whatever they want to say. Your rule is no cursing in here. If you curse, 3 strikes and you're out. 1, 2. They may go a long time and they curse. 3 strikes, you out. No cursing. You yourself have to make a rule. For me, I cannot abide people who curse, even though I know they curse all the time. I have a client, a young man, he said, Miss May, my mother cursed me every day. She cursed me for whatever it is that I was doing. And I understand that. I understand that. He said, I'm sorry, I apologize. I said, I understand that, son, but don't curse me. No cursing in here. And so you have to make them think before they open their mouth about some things. Because I just do it all the time. That's fine, honey, but you can't do it here. Give me a hug, okay? If you curse, you don't get any more hugs from me. So, okay, now. You have a plan, you have to have a plan of conflict. Because you do have people who like to argue. Remember, you have to control your group. You have to control the atmosphere, what's going in your group. So you have a plan. So you have to check your attitude. You have to make sure that you're not being judgmental. So when a problem arises, have the group members ask themselves, what is my attitude towards this situation? Then you have to define the problem. The problem that first arises is rarely the real issue. People are affected by past feelings, hidden agendas, and many other situations. Group members should state the problem with I. They have what they call a lot of sticky thinking. So sometimes things are said, they're misunderstood. So, and you have to say, okay, you have to define what the problem is. Facilitator, what's the problem? I think the problem is whatever. I think, or it looks to me like this is what's going on. State the problem. And then report your feelings. The best way to get to the heart of any issue is to express feelings. And participants can more easily focus on feelings by using statements such as I. You said that before. And then state your request. I understand you don't like what's being said, but I feel that it would be better if we didn't have this discussion here. I feel that if you want to talk to me later after this session is over, it probably would be better. Okay? And then you negotiate. You have to learn how to negotiate with a group. Conflict should be resolved in ways that benefit both parties and affirm everyone who makes an attempt to change. Requests should be made in such a way that there is always room for compromise. Remember, these are your guidelines for you as a facilitator to learn how to manage the group. And so in managing a group, you have to look at some common behaviors. And some behaviors are feelings of low self-esteem. I'm going to try to get through this quickly. Then you have people who cover up or compensate by trying to be perfect. They take responsibility for others. You recognize that they isolate themselves and feel uneasy around other people, especially authority people. These are common behaviors of people who suffer from addiction. Approval seekers. Well, you know what you call them, don't you? See, what's the nice word? Brown nosers.
People please.
Huh?
People please.
You know, when you recognize this in people, and you say, what, don't they see? No, that's a behavior of people who have addiction. Some people are intimidated by angry people. Some of them cannot stand personal criticism, you know. They habitually choose to have relationships with emotionally unavailable people with addictive personalities. That happens in groups, and you have to watch out for that because you have, especially if you have a mixed group, you have to watch out for this man and woman who are trying to get together for whatever reason, okay? And people who have lived life as victims are attracted to other victims in their love and relationships. So many women, you know, it's like, the reason why some of them are having the problems that they have is because of the relationship with a man. A lot of them are in prison because this man wants to do this, and you want to please this man, and now you're in jail. You're in jail in the women's section. He's in jail over there in the men's section. I can't wait to talk to him. I can't wait to get back to him. You can't wait to stay in jail? And because I tell them, you know, it ain't all that. Sorry, men, but if you got a man that is getting you in trouble all the time, what do you need that man for? You can do bad by yourself. Learn how to take care of yourself. You got your baby, or you don't need him anymore. You need to take care of yourself. Do not let this man get you in trouble. And it would be the same thing for a man if he's having a woman that is causing him serious problems. You look at that and see if you can and help yourself with that. Okay. Over responsibility. This is another behavior. And when we stand up for ourselves or act assertive, then we feel guilty. And you give, you know, yes, you're right. Well, I don't want to cause anybody any problem. I don't care if you are right. Stand up for what you know is right. Be assertive. You don't have to be ugly, but just be assertive. No, I don't like what you said to me. No, I don't like what you did. No, well, okay, well, But these are the behaviors that people have who have addiction. Denial, or minimizing or repressing our feelings. Okay. Our dependent personality. A person with a dependent personality wants to stick to another person like glue. They just depend on them for every piece of information that they need to live. Denial or isolation, control and misplaced guilt are symptoms of family dysfunction. Another behavior is there's difficulty with intimate relationships. You may, and not only male and female, but maybe with another same sex. You have difficulty with and I don't mean sexual relationships, I mean friendly relationships. You have, two women may have difficulty having a good relationship. These are behaviors of people who are addicted. Difficulty following projects through. They will start out sometimes, and are you finished? I got sick and I just couldn't get to it. Every time they would seem not to be able to complete a task that's given to them. These are behaviors. And you wonder, what's wrong with you? All you had to do was do this, and they can't seem to get it done. And there's a tendency for people to be impulsive. These are common behaviors. These are not all, but these are common behaviors. These are the kinds of things that you kind of look for and you recognize. So recognize them and know that they are there. They may be something that you can address in a group without even pointing out the person who has this behavior. And then you have, so you got this information as a facilitator. So now you have to set guidelines for your group. I got the information here, but I'm going to tell you what I do. I set a time for the group to start. Now, I am a timely person. I believe that if you are interested in coming and participating and looking for help, you'll be there on time. I take into consideration where you live, how you have to get there, and if I know that you have any problems. I set a time for my group to start. I will give you 5 minutes to be late. After that, I'm not going to let you in. 5 minutes. If the group starts at 10 o'clock, I will fiddle around and do stuff until 10:05, doors are closed. Set guidelines for your group. And when they come in, make sure that you are ready. Never have to get ready when your participants are there. Make sure that you are ready to start and you start group. We're going to do one exercise right now. So because sometimes you have people in the group and they don't know each other, right? And so the beginning of the group, I will say, and I want each one of you to participate in this. I will say to you, hi, my name is May Holland. I want to introduce myself to you. And I'm going to introduce myself to you, first of all, by my name, and then I'm going to tell you something good about myself using the first letter of my first name. Hi, my name is May Holland, and I am marvelous. You are.
I'm Chuck, and I'm courageous.
I'm Barbara. I work with behavior.
No, and you are,
And
and you are beautiful.
There you go. I am Leanne, and I'm a loved child of God.
All right. Brother Stevenson, wake up. That's okay.
I'm Joni with George.
All right.
But with, baloney.
I'm Robin, and I'm rocking.
Richard?
I am O'Neal, and I am on time.
I am Talita, and I am thankful.
I am Nora, and I am his backbone.
You what?
I am his backbone. My husband's backbone. Oh, Pete? Oh, personal.
Okay.
I am Willie, and I am, jet set.
You guys
Oh, I'm Willie, I'm wonderful.
All right. Wonderful, Willie. Okay.
I'm Chip and I'm cheerful.
Okay.
I'm Sharon, and I'm sincere.
Okay.
I'm John. I'm John.
Yeah, I know.
Aye.
My name is Rita. Excuse me. My name is Rita, and I am ready.
All right.
My name's Thomas and I'm terrific.
Okay.
My name's Reggie and I'm real.
All right. All right.
I'm Paul
And the lady who's trying to, oh, you get together, oh, I'm sorry, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm Paul and I'm perplexed.
I'm Sherry, and I'm a smiler.
Okay.
I'm sad and I'm patient.
Okay.
I'm Gary, and I'm grateful.
Amen. Okay.
I am Joe, and I hope.
Wait a minute. Excuse me.
Jay.
Wait a minute. Your name is Joe?
And I have hope.
No, Joe. So I have to start with you.
I am Joe and I have joy.
All right, all right.
I'm James and I'm Joel.
Okay, okay. You keep on going back, so let's get all the participants.
I'm Kenny and I'm knowledgeable. Is that all right?
Huh? Wait a minute.
That's okay.
What did he say? Knowledgeable?
That's okay.
Kenny and knowledgeable.
All right, okay.
My name's Floyd and I'm fantastic.
All right. Fantastic, Floyd, all right.
And I have overcome.
No.
Overcomer. Yeah, overcomer.
I overcome.
Overcomer.
And your first name again?
Oh. And overcomer. Overcomer. Yeah, that's right.
I am Ann, and I'm amazing.
All right.
I'm Marnetta, and I'm anxious, amazing,
Right.
Starts with an R. Is your name Renetta?
Arnetta.
Arnetta, okay. Okay, Arnetta, okay. Amazing Arnetta.
It's Mary, and I like money.
Okay, give yourselves a hand, Sam. This is a good way to start your group. And it's amazing how people will remember they might not remember your name, but they remember that you say, hey, I'm awesome. Or, hey, there's knowledge. Hey, Kenny. Yeah, you got some knowledge. Or, joyful. What? I don't remember it, but I know she's joyful. This is a good way to start your group. That's just a group exercise. Remember in your group, when you have your group, make sure that there's no crosstalk. Make sure that a lot of times they may be planning drug deals. A lot of times they're planning things that they shouldn't be planning in their groups. So make sure that you don't allow your group members to crosstalk. Maintain your confidentiality. Remind your group to maintain confidentiality and to avoid gossip. Don't allow your group members to be talking about Miss Joyful just because they want to maybe embarrass her. Don't allow your group members to gossip. And refrain from criticizing or defending others. So, and tell your group members they need to come to your groups prepared and with a prayerful attitude. Because you might have asked a group member to do something, and make sure that you reiterate when you give them for something to do, make sure you reiterate it before they leave the group. Remember, if you're not going to be prepared, we're not going to have a happy time, okay? So, now, and I've given you a copy, and I think we probably have it, of the 12 steps that are affiliated with scriptures. Now, I just think this is so wonderful for church members and even unchurched members. People who don't go to church need to know that they got this stuff in the Bible too. And so sometimes they become interested in what the church can do for them. And you can also, okay, reiterate, maybe we need a Bible study. You can go over this with them. If that's how you're running your group, you can go over with them with the 12 steps, and you can talk about how to apply some of these things to your life. I say to you, if you don't do step 1, I don't care if you do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you don't do step 1, you're not there yet. Because a lot of them skip step 1. And you have to do that. And sometimes you need to stay on this for a while until a person can really accept the fact that you're powerless. You are powerless. Some people still believe, I can do it. No, I can do it. I just need a little more time. No, I can do it. No, you are powerless. And you can't get any further in your recovery if you do not do step number 1. Okay? These are just some guidelines for you if you are facilitating a group. And it doesn't matter if the group is with addiction, with alcohol or drugs. Some people have addiction to gambling. There are other kinds of addiction, and I think you have some material to show there are other kinds of addiction. Addiction is addiction. And so these are some of the guidelines that will help you to work with people who are addicted.
Amen. Amen.
What time does the session end?
12:15, I believe.
Okay, we got 5 minutes. Is there anybody up here with a burning desire? Because I've spoken earlier.
I don't facilitate a group. I teach one-on-one.
Put the mic.
Oh, put it in my hand. Okay. Can you hear me now? Good. I don't facilitate a group. I work one-on-one with individuals in the prisons. They set up an appointment for me. I go into the chapel, and the young lady comes in, and we talk for an hour or so one-on-one. A lot of the things that Miss May said, I have to do in order to keep control and help her to say what she needs to say. And then I listen because I'm there to help her. She's not there to help me. So therefore, in listening and then acting, I can help an individual. Sometimes I can work with them on 2 different visits. Sometimes I work with them for months, one-on-one. But the main thing I do is I listen. I look at how they're feeling. I know what's going on because I've already got I have a copy of their situation before I work with them. And then the chaplain or someone there, they select the person that I'm to counsel. So I'm aware of what's going on with that individual before I get them. I know if they've been raped. I know if they're abusive or have been abused. I know if they're the abuser. I had a young lady to tell me, every time I go up for parole, they deny me. Well, her attitude there with me was already part of why you didn't get parole. So I asked her, I said, well, what is the reason? Why are you not doing your program? What's the reason why you're not getting parole? The lady that I beat before I came in here, every time I go up parole, she comes and then they deny me. She says things against me. Well, she told the woman, when I get out, I'm going to beat you again. So my thought with her was, you've got to change your attitude. You have an attitude with me. They see that. That lady fears you. So you've got to go to God, ask him to help you to change your attitude, and then go from there. But you can't get out with an attitude and know that they know that you're going to come back. So in my facilitating, I rarely do groups. The only groups that I do is at T-Pump, and that's teaching men or women how to go out into groups properly dressed, how to address the way they carry themselves when they go. Don't smoke a cigarette 5 minutes before you go into a job interview, because the smoke is still on you. So, things like that. But that's most of my time is spent one-on-one, except when I facilitate how to go out and be prepared to get a job.
We're in trouble now. I've been taking notes about what I would like to talk about. First, you did a great job talking about facilitating meetings. Thank you. There's some things that I had burning, just sitting over there earlier too, that I wanted to talk about. Number one, listening is the most important part of communication. If you don't listen to anything in the group that you're in, whether you're there for yourself or whether you're there to facilitate, you're wasting your time and everyone else's. It's the best way to love someone is to listen. Many of the people that come to groups have never had anybody to listen to them. It's the best way to love somebody. Okay. Encouragement is huge as well. We want to berate the addict because they've done da-da-da-da-da to us. Well, they didn't do it to me. They did it to themselves. I just happened to be in the way. Okay? I'm just on the receiving end. So if we try to remember that, they're doing it for themselves. They're doing it to themselves. They're not doing it to me. Okay? Vacuum. Whew, this is huge to me. We talk about stopping drinking or stopping gambling or stopping spending too much money or stopping trying to control others. If you just stop a behavior, yoga, meditation, empty your mind. Who's moving in? You got it. You can't grow or you can't get out of an addictive mindset with a vacuum. You have to replace it with something positive. Okay? Jesus. You cannot recover from any addiction. And that includes depression, anxieties, anything that is a detriment to your well-being emotionally. You've got to put your focus on Jesus. and put him in the center and look to him first for everything, not yourself. You're not self-dependent. The answer is not within yourself. Within yourself is sin and more sin. That's it. So you've got to look to him. That's where the answer is. Loss of focus, I just talked about that. You got to keep your focus on Christ. Until you can do that, you're not going to get anywhere when you're trying to get out of any addictive situation. I think that's it.
I'd like to say one. Okay, I'd like to say one thing. Substance abuse, alcohol abuse, is in the DSM-5. The DSM-5 is a diagnostic tool that clinicians use to determine some of your behaviors and also to give you a diagnosis. Substance abuse, alcoholism is a mental health disease. Remember, 1 out of 5 people has a mental illness. You got an uncle, don't know how to act? Oh, he's just crazy. You may have some mental health issues. Alcohol is a mental health issue. So, and a lot of people just don't like to say that because we think that because you have a mental health diagnosis or you're mentally ill, that you're really not a person that we should even be around and take care of. That person who is mentally ill needs help just like you do. And I would suggest to everybody that we all have some mental health issues. It's just that I know how to cope with mine better than you do. My coping skills are stronger than yours. Some people do not have the ability to cope with some of the things that are going along with them, along with the chemical imbalance that they have in their brain. So DSM-5, and if any of you know what a DSM-5 is or have ever worked with it, look it up and you will see all the behaviors that you may have been looking at with a person who is addicted.
I know we only have a second. One thing that I would like to say about one-on-one is all the steps that Ms. May talked about, we have to do that in one-on-one. It doesn't mean just because you're one-on-one, you're not a facilitator. You're still the facilitator. You're still in control. And it's a lot harder one-on-one because you're having to work with that individual and not a group. And that person is always standing or looking face to face at you. So all the things that she put in here about training and identifying females to address their addictions, it is something that you have to do one-on-one by yourself. And when you got a group, you got somebody that can sometimes speak up. But you have to study and be prepared to work with individuals one-on-one. And it's much more difficult, and I love it, than working with individuals and groups.
I forgot to mention, the main reason I wanted to start CASA, the Christians Against Substance Abuse program, in my church, within my church, was because so many people come into the churches and nobody speaks to them. Nobody smiles at them. Nobody welcomes them. Or even if they do, they don't feel worthy of accepting that. Everybody needs to feel like they belong somewhere, especially in the church. I mean, a lot of these people came out of dysfunctional families. They never belonged in their family. So something that I've been affiliated with the Al-Anon programs for over 30 years. I just found CASA, 4 years ago? Something like that. I love it. It's Jesus-centered, Christ-centered. That's got to be key. But anyway, all over the country, any group I stepped into, any 12-step group I stepped into, I felt like I belonged. I was loved. Just because I walked in the room. And that's the hardest thing for some people. They think it's a dark room with just shadows. No, we're a family. We love one another. We're there for one another. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about is I agree with you, but I think there's another aspect. yes, it's a physical illness, alcoholism or drug addiction. It starts with sin, doesn't it? And you keep on doing it, and pretty soon you get kind of physically addicted to it, just got to have it. You're putting a brand new wrinkle, a brand new rut in your brain that you just got to go down the same path. You just keep on doing it, keep on doing it. Satan's got a good hold on you. Then you're in addiction. In that bottle are demons. Depression, anxiety, any addiction is a demon. Their job is to keep you from focusing, living, working for Christ. To get your mind off of Him. Anything they can do. Right? That's addiction. We've got to keep our focus on Jesus. Thank you.
Question.
Okay, I'd like to say one thing about all that's gone on in this particular session. I am a man in recovery. And the reason I went to prison twice is because I had an addiction. And I think you're going to find that the people that you work with have learned to cope with life and chosen to not feel what's going on inside of their heads and their bodies because they don't know how to feel, like you said. And until they're given that opportunity to open up with facilitators such as May or any one of us, and until they're ready, they got to get to that point. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. There's never going to be anything there for them. They'll go through that revolving door of what we call the prison system or the jail system. And when I met Buck Griffin, we started our CASA group. We're working on having at our church now for 30 years, working on 30 years. And I'm grateful that the elders saw the need to allow us to have the group. But one of the things I see a real need for in the churches of Christ, and I don't care what church you go to, every church needs a support group.
Amen.
Every one of them.
Amen.
Because unless they have a safe place where they can discuss their problems and their issues in the church, people want to take it to the preacher, and the preacher's supposed to have all the answers, and the preacher doesn't have all the answers because he's never walked a mile in those shoes. He was probably raised up in a good church home. He was raised from the time he was a little boy. And so he doesn't understand the issues and the problems that you may have. So we need a support group in every church. That's all I have to share. Thank you.
I just wanted to share, I'm part of the CASA group, and I graduated a program in 2017, the Love Ladies. Prior to being there, I feel like Paul was shipwrecked. I was blamed and accused of things that I did not do. I was told I had schizophrenic mental illness, but I had observed and seen things that the enemy meant for evil that God turned into good. And I can't deny the power of Christ and the true belief in the God who created you, that once you come to that knowledge and that you look within yourself and you blame, because you had choices, you had options, there was ways that God actually gave you an scapegoat, but you always came back. So if we look to ourselves and know that we had a choice and we had fault and a deep desire to really want to get well, you may get to that point of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, because I've drank till I didn't want to feel no more, because I didn't want to deal
with the consequences that were coming and things, even whether I did them or didn't do it, I was suffering the consequences of it, and it was just too much. So I've done drugs, I've been around the wrong people and thinking I could change them, and indeed they changed me. And then you're stuck in that mire, that mud, and you just want to waddle in it because you don't know how to get out of it. And it does take a team of people who believe in you, and it does take effort. But of course we have, and I know from my age group, I know a lot of us are looking for those, do what you claim you do, but you do it in secret too. Because a lot of us are hurting because whether we grew up in church or whether we didn't, you know, they didn't lead the example, they talked and didn't talk to us about things that they actually did, but we didn't know about it. We only found out after we fell in that muck and mire. And I think being open and honest to the younger generation that, hey, my parents screwed up too. And being able to talk about issues and stop denying it. You know, we've all fall short of the glory of God. We've all made mistakes. It's huge for, I know, our generation to be the example that you claim to be and do the steps as God would have you to do them, because I've been part of CASA and I've quit smoking. It was not by my might or power, but it was by the power of the 12 steps and God doing it to me submitting my will in life over to Him and working those steps. And they're amazing steps. I'm a huge testimony to it, and I love it, and I want to continue to do it. But it helped change my life.
One additional question, and I know time is getting, lunch is at 12:30 here. But you said you started your group at your church. And for the people that are coming in, you wanted them to feel comfortable. How did you go about that? Did you have a group of CASA people meeting those people or making them feel good? Or did you have your ushers and greeters? How did you guys go about setting that up so when someone come off the street and come in, that they'll be greeted and felt welcome to the center?
When I found the CASA program, I loved it. I just fell in love with the meeting, like I said, because it's cross-centered. I wanted it in our church so badly. So I got the curriculum and I brought it to our pastors. We've got 6 pastors on our board, whatever. And they all passed it around and looked at it. They loved it too. They wanted it in our church. As far as it's just me that facilitates at this point. If somebody else wants to step in and do it, I'm more than happy to let them do that. And I started this before COVID. Once COVID came, it's just all just kind of going again. But as far as when someone comes in the room, just be warm, be real, be sincere, welcome them. But back to starting the group and getting people to come. It's been a problem because, in my opinion, people don't want to come to this kind of group in their church because people will talk.
Yeah.
Nobody can know that I have a problem. Every single person in our big church, it's a big church, every person belongs in CASA. Everyone has some kind of addiction. So, I've got to work on that. I guess I need to get up in front of the church and speak to them. I don't do that. Is that good?
Yeah.
Get started?
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to elaborate on that one, a few points. The reason we started our CASA group was, of course, because of myself. When I became a member at the Roebuck Parkway Church in Birmingham, the elders asked me, they said, well, why do you think we need a CASA group at Roebuck Parkway? And I looked at them and I said, because I need a CASA group. Now, the average member of the church is going to say, well, I've been washed. I'm clean. But if we're so washed and we're so clean, why are we still behaving the way we're behaving? And why are we not giving away what we've been cleansed of, to help others, okay? And so it's going to be very difficult to get the members of the congregation to get involved, but the reason we were able to continue with the CASA group at Roebuck Parkway, which is now Deerfoot, is because we had a jail and prison ministry. So you're going to have both of those working and going on. And somebody in the church that's strong in working toward helping those that are incarcerated or even coming in off the street. Does that help you?
Because we do have some that have been always little white, never done anything wrong with their nose in the air. So when someone come off the street, they don't sit here or don't want to sit by me. It's just, so we just have to convince the mass that everybody has some issue. Yours just may not be at the level that theirs is at this time.
I would like to say about, I had a group at the church building where I'm a member, Slow Parkway Church. And the way I started my group was I had a relationship with the church members. Okay? I was working on my master's and they knew that I was going to school. And so I could almost identify some of the people in our congregation that had difficulty with alcohol. I talked to them personally and told them, I'm going to school, and I had worked at, I had done my internship at a substance abuse center. So I let them know what I was doing. And I let them know that, you know what, don't you think we need to have something like here in the church where we can talk about the Lord and where we can really express? That's how I got my group started. And I had quite a few church members and maybe one or two that were not. Now I had got some, the material, this material, you'll see it on there. It's called a 12 Steps Recovery. And if you go, and it's written material. And so if you're going to use this kind of material, you can go on the internet and they have books, all different kind of books that you can use that are based on scripture. And so this is the book that I use. And one of the young men, he was not a member of the body of Christ. He did obey the gospel after that, and he's been a faithful member at Swope for many years. So it's important to have a relationship with people so they know who you are and they know what you are about. And so that's how I started my group at Swope.
Okay. All right. Thank you.